Okay, once you've finished hearing my little spiel about each of these claims and about scientific writing with these claims in mind, and you've finished the warm-up and watched the video, you're ready to move on to step 3, reading blood doping and high altitude training. In this section, you're basically going to go back over another article that you've read before. This is the article from 3.5 that we had a second look at, and it's an article we'll review again in 3.4 on Friday to give your annotations some real understanding of what's going on based on your practice in these lessons. So you're going to read it while understanding the catching blood dopers and alternative to blood doping sections, and then answer the questions below. Remember, in these sections, there's two ways to solve this. The first is simply to read the entire article, or just the sections they ask for. In this case, it's catching blood dopers, and an alternative to blood doping. So let's see if we can find that. Scrolling. I'm reading through it. Here we go. Catching blood dopers. So this is the first part they want. An alternative to blood doping. Here's another right here. So there's two ways we could read into it. So I just have to read these two paragraphs and this paragraph here. So I can read the whole article or just read these three paragraphs, whichever you think will help you best, and then answer the questions below. I have the other option of reading the questions and then looking for them in the article. There's a couple ways to do that more efficiently with a computer. Let's try the first one. How do doctors use the age of red blood cells to decide whether or not someone was blood doping? So this is something that might be confusing to find if I had to read through the whole article. But a very easy way to find things I want on a computer is to hold the control key, press F, and you notice this little find button comes up. When they do that, I can find specific things. In this case, I'm looking for the age of red blood cells. So I'm just going to type age of, you're going to type it correctly, age of red blood cells. So as you can see, there's only one thing, and I found it. So that's probably not ideal. So what we're going to do instead is this. We're going to just look for the word age. Alright, there's only 2 instances of the word age in this entire page. So that makes it pretty easy to find. Let's go back up and see if I can find another one. Here it is. One detection method involves testing the age of the red blood cells. Excellent. So by using the computer as a tool with my control F, which is find, function on my Google Chrome browser, I've been able to find the answer more readily. So let me quickly read it. One detection method involves testing the age of the red blood cells in a blood sample. The human body constantly produces new red blood cells to replace cells that have died. That makes sense, because otherwise our body wouldn't be growing. Blood doping means injecting stored blood, and the red blood cells in the stored blood are older. Well, that makes sense, because they came from farther back before they were re-added than the new red blood cells that are constantly produced in the body. A blood sample that has an unusually high number of older red blood cells can be evidence of blood doping. Alright, I've finished this sentence, so I think I have a good idea what it's going to ask me. Let's go back to the question. How do doctors use the age of red blood cells to decide whether or not someone's blood doping? Alright, well, from reading this and reading the question, I understand. They look to see if there is an unusually high number of older red blood cells. Because remember, if they're older, that means they came from farther back, which means that they were pulled out at an earlier date and then put back in later. Older red blood cells in the bloodstream. Normally, the bloodstream doesn't have cells that are very old, but doped blood does. Because remember, doped blood has it from days, weeks, or even a few weeks back. Alright, so I've answered the first question, and I've done it using my computer tools, Control and F to find. You can try practicing yourself with the next 3 questions before you go on. Make sure you answer all 4 questions, click on the hand in button, and get ready to move on. We're going to move on to one last discussion piece, which I'll talk about here, and then you'll turn to your partner and evaluate the evidence we have. Because remember, in scientific writing, there's question, claim, evidence, and reasoning. We already have the question, which we looked at in the second part. We have the claims, which you also saw in the second part. In fact, let me bring them up right now. The question was right here. How did he increase his cellular respiration and improve his performance? The 3 claims are here, that he cheated, that he changed his meal, and that he trained at a higher altitude. And then you're going to look at some evidence cards to identify the evidence that supports these claims and reason why they support or refute these claims before moving on. Alright, go ahead and finish this one. Click the hand in button. Move on to step 4, and we'll get ready to keep going.